Oh, and so if you are seeing this, you need to go and look in the description below. If you are watching this on the Jim Jesus Archive, you're subscribed to the wrong channel. You need to go follow me on my new channel. On YouTube, it's at Jim Jesus, or you need to be cool and use Rumble and Odyssey like the cool kids. So we're going to cut the stream off for this YouTube. We're just going to keep announcing every time we do a live stream on here that we're streaming on the cool channel. In fact, maybe we should call it the cool channel. And that's where we'll be. So we're going to kick off and head on over to the countdown and intro, and we will get started. Worms. What's up, guys? It's been no, it hasn't been. It was last week, wasn't it? I think it was here last week. I don't remember. I can't keep track anymore. I'm still going to keep calling this Sunday update, even though we don't do it every Sunday, and I'm scheduled to work. I just got the new schedule, and I guess what? I'm working a bunch of Sundays again. So we're going to do this whenever we can, and maybe we'll make Sunday updates even happen on Tuesday. So before we get into too much, we're going to run a trailer for a movie that I saw that I'm going to be reviewing tonight. Here now, because I said I was going to do it last time I did a live stream, and then we never got around to it because I had so much other stuff people kept asking me about. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be doing a review on the Jones Plantation, and we're just going to run the trailer, and then you can decide whether or not you want to see it or stick around for the review. Actually, it's good. Anyways, we'll get right into it.
You can control a man for a period with brute violence, but you cannot truly own a man unless he thinks your word is law and that he must obey, and is virtuous for doing so.
We are losing money. A little more every month that goes by with no end in sight. They can sense weakness, and they are gonna smell blood like a gator to chum. They're gonna kill us both.
Mr. Scott said this man is a miracle worker. I think he can help us. You're a nit.
Good people, good people. My name is Mr. Smith. As of this very moment, you are now all free. Free at last.
From now on, we are all in this together.
This plantation will run on equality. I have created something called Jones Plantation credits.
We're gonna keep them up to their ears in debt.
Jimmy Jack will now be in charge of our new security team to protect this plantation and to serve all of you. You two are gonna have a little contest to see who can win the hearts and minds of the human livestock out there.
Bo Jones!
Most people are weak-minded to wield real power. You must be willing to do what most consider unthinkable.
What most people consider to be unthinkable is that men like you even exist.
That's our greatest advantage. As free people, we work together for mutual benefits, living our love and loyalty to the Jones Plantation.
We are not free.
I ain't no slave.
They have tricked you into thinking that choosing your own master is the same as being free.
You offer them a truth that they don't want. They want to feel safe.
There's a dark thing going on in this plantation.
Every man deserves freedom, but freedom isn't free.
I'm Nathaniel Jones, and I approve this message. God bless you, and God bless this glorious.
Toodaloo. So that was the Jones Plantation. I guess it was written and directed by Larkin Rose. Sorry, I'm not implying anything there. Anyways, so I sat down and watched it. This is my second time watching it. I watched it before we started this stream, and I kind of wanted to kind of summarize a lot of the things that I have to say about it. Well, I mean, I'm going to get through the positives really quickly. By far, this is the most competent, explicitly libertarian movie that I've seen ever. Granted, there's only been two other ones, and both of them were not good at best. First one being that I remember like explicitly. I'm talking about explicitly libertarian. We're not talking about like Ghostbusters, which has like a libertarian message, even though it's not like intentionally a libertarian message. It's just like a vehicle to get the plot going. It's like a vehicle for the jokes that happen. But that movie was really lightning in a bottle. That's a whole separate video. We could talk about the Ghostbusters. I love the Ghostbusters movies, both of them, even the second one. Sorry, it's still good. It's not as good as the first one. But like the two that are or the two other ones that are explicitly libertarian is Silver Circle, which was an animated movie. The story was good, like the voice acting was okay, the music was all right, but the big problem, the big eyesore, was the visual effects. It was an animated film, like a early CGI budget animated film. Now, I mean, animated films have been CG animated films have been around for a while, but when like budget studios or independent studios made them, they were always just like nightmarishly bad looking. Um, and it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch just from that aspect. But like as terms of like everything else was fine. And that's why I don't recommend it. The other one is Alongside Night, which I now own on Blu-ray, which is a fantastic movie, but not in the way that Neil Schulman imagined it would be. May he rest in peace. That was a very bad movie, probably like one of the worst movies ever. But it was so bad that it actually turned into being good. Like it's definitely like up there in terms of some of my best worst movies. It's up there with The Room. It's up there with Troll 2. It's never going to top The Happening. And The Happening is my favorite, so bad that it's a good movie of all time. And I don't think there will ever be a successor, and for various reasons. Which that's another thing we should we should delve into it sometime. But those movies were not good. This one I would say is like it's watchable, an enjoyable watch. I'll put it like that. But there's a lot of problems with it, and it's not problems with it like in the same level as those other two movies where it's like it's ugly on its face. I think most people who are kind of like libertarians will allow it to kind of like some of the faults of the movie to kind of pass through them because they agree with the message. And I was forcing myself not to do that. So I'm coming at this from almost like a very nitpicky kind of standpoint. But I think that any kind of like film critic would look at it the same way. And a lot of the general audiences will look at it the same way. And that is because there's many problems with it. And I attribute this to like this is Larkin's first major film. I wouldn't. Well, it's a major film. It's his first full length motion picture, as far as I'm aware. He may have done some documentaries that I don't know about. I know he's written some books that have been successful, and I hope this movie is successful. And I do recommend people watch it, especially if you're already in the camp. As maybe you get some people who are not big movie people. They will may enjoy it or maybe be receptive to the message of it. But I'm only gonna pick on this movie, not because I think that it's terrible or that Larkin Rose is deserving of like a brutal thing. Just that I hope that I can portray like or convey a lot of the things that I had issues with the movie so that when he goes to make another movie, which I hope this is successful, and I hope that he makes enough money to go on to make another movie, um, that he can take these criticisms and like use them to make better films going forward, because there was a lot of problems with them. And especially if you've seen as many movies as I have, you know, I've done like a sorry, I've done like a podcast where we were reviewing films and we were looking at them critically, and we were even picking apart movies that I still love today, and pointing out a lot of the flaws with it. I hope that Larkin Rose watches this, and I know people who watch me know Larkin personally, and maybe he can listen to this and take some cues so that going forward he can avoid a lot of the pitfalls that he kind of falls into, because a lot of these pitfalls are like in very, very common in kind of like first time movie making independent filmmakers. It's very common. And the first big one, the one that sticks out like a sore thumb to me, is the pacing. The pacing is awful. And a lot maybe you don't know what pacing is, but pacing in a movie, if you ever felt like you ever gone to a movie and it felt like this movie lasts forever, but then you check the runtime, it's just a 90-minute movie, but you felt like it was like a 2-3 hour movie. And a lot of the times when that happens is there's little things, editing tricks that people employ to help, you know, the time in film go by better, right? For example, you may see like a person, you know, walking by a door, and then while he's walking through the door, you can hear dialogue happening. And then immediately afterwards, you see that person that walked past the door sitting in a room having a conversation with someone. And the conversation is always starting off to the most important parts. So they skip the parts about like, hey, how you doing? How was the wife? How's the kids? Cut that part out and skip immediately to, so we need to talk about Jones, right? Uh, like they immediately start at the most important thing. A lot of like independent filmmakers will show him walk past the door, turn back, look through the door, and say, "Oh, you're here. Sit down. So, how's the wife? How's the kids? That's great." Or they'll and then get to the important dialogue. Or they will show a lot of exposition shots, um, you know, with some music or something like that, and a lot of it's kind of unnecessary, and it's not even establishing what the point of the shot is for. So a lot of times you'll see like an establishing shot, right? So instead of saying like showing two people in a building and then having text at the bottom says like 2:53 p.m. Tuesday afternoon, you know, World Trade Center Building 1, so and so sits down with. They just show a picture of the World Trade Center, so you know, like, okay, so we're past that scene. We're now at a new location. I recognize this place, or I get an idea of what this place is based on the shape and the people walking by. It's probably a business place, right? So I know that. That's like those are very important things that happen. But a lot of times you'll see like a shot of a crop, like an aerial shot of a crop that's spinning around, and then you're not in the fields, you're in the church, and you're like, wait, oh, okay, so we're back at the church. What is this church? It seems as though like this church is going to be like the impromptu place to have dialogue with a lot of the other people. There's a lot of that stuff missing. And you'll see a lot of those shots. You'll see someone walking around a shed, like the full length of walking around the shed, looking in, when it could have been just like you see like a foot dangling and a person walking by and catches their eye and they go like, what the heck? There's a lot of things that you can do to kind of condense things down to make the movie kind of move along. And there's a lot of problems with that. There's lots of times where you just see like a horse and buggy driving along, you know, all the way around and then coming up to the building. And you're just like, come on, can we get to the point? We can get to the meat of it. Or instead you could just show like the buggy walking across and then like the dialogue happening and then immediately show them having a conversation. But no, we have to see him walk up to, you know, walk through the buggy, walk the buggy up, get off the thing, introduce himself, and, you know, walk up the stairs, have a dialogue with someone who else is in the building. I think the wife. They go up the stairs. We don't need all that stuff. We just need to get to the important part of the story because we need to keep things moving along. Otherwise, the movie feels drawn out. This is an hour and 50-minute-ish movie. And it feels like it's a good 3 hours. It because it drags. That's one of the things. Yeah, pacing is something that Larkin could definitely do because this is like the biggest criticism that I have of the movie. there's also a couple of things that kind of really drew me out of the movie, in terms of like being enveloped into the story. You know, the whole point of a movie is you're supposed to either, well, if it's not like a comedy, but you're talking about like a movie that's, you know, supposed to be engaging. You need to be engaged with the movie, and sometimes it's really hard to be engaged with the movie when you're taking a step back and like, wait a minute, why is there a nylon flag, you know, during the time of slavery? Like, this doesn't make sense. Why would there be a nylon flag? It probably would have been easier, and probably to just go down to the, you know, fabric store, like a Joann's or something, get some black, white, and yellow fabric, cut it out by hand and hand sew it on haphazardly, because that's what you would probably see in a plantation like that. If that was doing like an experiment, they would not invent plastic, right, and make a flag. And I know that's a little tiny thing, but it like, that flag is constantly throughout the entire movie, and it's constantly bringing me back to like, oh yeah, this is a movie that was worked on by a friend of a friend, and not like, like there's a lot of then another thing is that they had an election for who was going to be the new, not master, but head of the plantation, the president of the plantation. And they were showing like campaign ads on video, and they were showing like, you know, this, it was in well, actually it wasn't even sepia, that would have helped, but it was in black and white, or maybe no, it was black and white. And you see like the little film lines going through it, and the little hairs and stuff that you would see in like old timey movies, except it wouldn't be black and white, it would be sepia. But nitpicky. But, you know, like film was not invented for a good like 15 years after slavery ended. And this is supposed to take place like almost a little bit before the Civil War in the United States, because you can get the sense, like the kind of some of the things that they established pretty well. They did pretty well without explicitly explaining it. Is that this is the time when like slavery was starting to become kind of like on shaky ground, and a lot of slaves were leaving, and a lot of support for slavery was leaving, and this was kind of like their last ditch effort to help, you know, to keep slaves, by doing this kind of pseudo American style government at the plantation, to give the slaves the impression that they're free, when really they're just slaves, just by a different, you know, just with invisible chains, right? That kind of took me out of it a little bit, because I was like, wait a minute. And then only that, but they had like audio with the video, which that didn't come until a lot later, because silent films were a good thing up until like the 30s, I think. That's when you started getting like walkie talkies. So a lot of that stuff kind of took me out of it. But I think maybe like low information people might go into that and going like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. But again, like I think sepia would have probably been a more convincing way of doing it. But I think the best way of doing it is just not do it at all, or having like posters or something that had that same information on there in that same kind of style, or maybe they put some shellac records on and that had that audio or something. Maybe that would have been more convincing, but this was not. It really kind of took me out of the movie, and this is like a really nitpick. But another thing that I will say is there was one thing that I will say was nice, and I'm not sure that this was what Larkin Rose thought it was, but I hope it is. But there was a scene where not Nathaniel Jones, excuse me, Mr. Smith, who is the person who was helping Nathaniel Jones reform his plantation to make it a little bit more free. And there was a part where like one of the workers walks in on him, like whipping his back, and then like praying to a bunch of like a little altar with like a cow's head. I'm not sure, but I got really strong vibes of the Occult Technology of Power, which if you have not read the Occult Technology of Power, I highly recommend you do. It's available for free. There's copies of it. I think it's free and open, but there's also a really good printed version available at Amusement Underworlds. Yeah, Amusement Underworlds. And it's really great. And basically the gist of it is it's like a satire of hey, what's up? What's up, Phobes? It's a satire of the hoax document known as the Elders of Zion. I don't know the full name of it, but it's known as like the Elders of Zion type of thing. and it's like a group of like elites who really are controlling the world, and they're explaining how they control the world today and how why they do what they do now versus something like a totalitarian regime. And they explain why it's easier to control people in a kind of free society than it is to have a totalitarian society. And he's explaining all this going on and how they control the systems of finances and all that stuff to do everything, and so that his son could be the heir to his chair. But there is kind of like this kind of like a occultic stuff that goes on throughout the whole thing, where you can kind of get this group is like a very occultic. And I think that's I want to be a nod to that, but it wasn't. I don't think. I hope it is. But that was a nice little piece in there. I do say the person who played one of the slaves, Samuel, was horribly miscast. Um, and I'm not going to try to pick on the person who acted, because he looks like he was like one of the most competent actors on the set. Um, but he just didn't have that kind of charismatic kind of weight to him that he needed to counterbalance Mr. Smith. He just didn't have that presence. He didn't have that speaking ability. I think there was a couple other people who were in the film, and I don't recall their names. It probably would have been a better character for that. One of the other issues that I had with the movie, and there's a lot, sorry. One of the other issues that I had with the movie was the villains were kind of unbelievable. And what I mean by that is, if you were to take this movie and instead of having it kind of show Mr. Smith talking to Mr. Jones and telling him how things are going the whole time, I mean, you can do that thing, but I think in terms of the way they structured those two characters, didn't make a whole lot of sense unless you were looking at it from the perspective of the slaves. And if you spent more time with the slaves, I think that would have been a much better way of doing it, considering how two-dimensional the villains were in this movie. And what I mean by that is the villains were very much kind of like mustache twirling. We're going to control everything. Ha ha ha. Instead of having some like realistic or like believable motivations for them. Their motivations were like, I hate black people and I want to enslave them. But there was no like philosophy behind that. There was no like, so like, I'm going to give a good example, because I think everybody has seen this. And I really don't like harkening back to Marvel movies. I really don't. It's so fucking over Marvel shit. But the reason why a lot of people liked a villain like Thanos is because you could relate to Thanos and his goal, even though you think that he was completely misguided and completely evil for doing that. He had a believable motivation. Now, if they had Mr. Jones come in and say like, hey, like, you know, like I subscribe to this religion, and this religion very much says that I'm for slavery, which is kind of the view of it at the time. They were kind of like in this weird version of Christianity that believed that enslaving of black people was okay according to the Bible. So therefore they can do it. It's like, this is part of my religion, and this is how I need to have this plantation. This is like my only source of income. Maybe if he had that, but he didn't have that. It just seems like he was just wanting to be evil for the sake of being evil. And Mr. Jones didn't really have any kind of believable motivations, on top of the fact when it's later revealed that he was a former slave. Well, it's like, okay, you just learned how to be evil from your former master, and so now you want to be evil too. But what's your motivation in this? It doesn't seem like he had any real kind of like convincing thing other than, you know, mustache twirling. I'm going to make money. He. Now, if you were to like separate that a bit and come at it from the slave's point of view, you could have a two-dimensional character like that, because then your mind can be like, well, what are their motivations for that stuff? If you don't really get to see them much, if they just came out and told the story and let some of the slaves or one of the slaves kind of figure it out or overhear someone talking, right? And I think there needs to be a believable motivation, like something that I may not like personally agree with, but I can understand where they're coming from, and being like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from. Now let me explain why you're wrong. But there was no moment like that. Another big issue. Yeah, and one small critique about the music. The music in this movie is kind of all over the place, which I can understand if it was something like I know one of my favorite directors does this a lot. or he'll kind of mismatch music, but there's always kind of like a yin and yang to that sort of disconnection, right? So Quentin Tarantino will oftentimes use something that's kind of period like appropriate. So he'll have like the type of music that they would be listening to at the time, and then he would juxtapose it during certain scenes that needed that kind of emphasis with something that's a little bit more modern, like hip hop or like electronic music or something. This was just kind of like eclectic, and coming from someone who has eclectic tastes in music, I like all kinds of stuff. It just kind of felt kind of unkiltered, and I think maybe Larkin was putting his own music. I didn't check the credits. Maybe I should have. And it's not to say the music was bad. The music was fine. It was just that it was so eclectic. It almost seemed like he had just had like a bunch of songs and he was just like, well, I already have these done. Let's just throw them in the movie, rather than having something that's a little bit more appropriate for the style that he's going for. Another issue that I had with the movie was the sound design. Sound design was bad. There was no other way of putting it. There's parts of it where it seemed like it was okay. People were mic'd appropriately. And then other times it almost seems like you're getting a scratch audio, which scratch, for those who don't know, when they film a movie, they usually have like a microphone on set if they're not going to use the audio for the movie. And it's just kind of in the room just so they can hear what's being said, so that when they do ADR, which is added dialogue, right? They know how they said it, so that actors know how they said it. So when they go in the recording booth to re-record their dialogue, they know how they said it. They can see how they said it. They know how, the pattern of how they said it, so that when they re-record the vocal track for it, they get a sense of how to do it. A good example of how this is done wrong, completely wrong, is Manos Hands of Fate. Just drop in at any point of that movie where they're talking, and you can get an example of what happens if you don't have a scratch track, but you're doing ADR over every line. If you don't have that scratch track, it's very important. So yeah, there's lots of times where like the sound will just sound like echoey in a big room, but it's not in the sense of like, hey, I'm in a big gigantic room and I want to emphasize like the monumental room that I'm in and I have it echoey. No, it just kind of seems tinny and echoey, and it's just not, it doesn't sound good. That's the time where you take that track and say, okay, we're re-recording dialogue. Everybody get back we're going to record the studio. Here's how you sounded then. We're going to play it with the video. I want you to try to say exactly what you said when you said it, as you said it in this video, and you have the audio and the video to go along with it as well. But we didn't get that, sadly. Also, there's some major issues with cinematography, and this is more than just kind of like these weird kind of like pseudo establishment shots. A lot of the shots seem flat. For instance, this shot that you're have been looking at for a while is flat. If you saw this in a movie, you'd be like, this is kind of like, you'd be kind of bored. But if I sit over here, now it has a little bit more weight, right? Now that it has a little bit more weight than it does if I'm sitting directly. But I can get away with doing this because I'm live streaming. I'm not making a film. It's a different format, so I can get away with it. But if I wanted to be really good, if I wanted to really emphasize how important this whole situation is, you can see how just me sitting over to the side is a little bit. And that's one of the things that they do in film is the rule of thirds, which if you put things directly in front of a camera and put everything straight and narrow, everything feels flat. But if everything's over to 1/3 of the screen, or like the 1/3, like if you can cut the screen into thirds, right? So you have, 1, 2, 3, and those dividing lines between those two, right? These two dividing lines. If you put stuff directly on those lines, everything has a little bit more weight, right? There's a lot of shots where he does this right, but there's a lot of times where it's just straight. There's a lot of times where two characters will have a dialogue, and between every line of dialogue, they're switching cameras, which is fine to do every once in a while. But if you have like a long scene where two people are talking, you're switching back and forth, you don't need to do that. And it feels makes everything feel a little bit flat and kind of like a Skype call, right? or like a live stream or something where like you have two people talking and the person who's talking next flashes over, which is fine for a live stream, but for a film, no. That's why you see a lot of times you'll see like two characters talking. And while one character is like sometimes they'll show like the character and they'll have like a dialogue where they're showing just one character. But when you're trying, when you need to emphasize something that emotionally that the person is feeling or showing emotions or something, or showing some sort of something, then you switch over to the other person. Or you can have like a little back and forth and then weight it on one side or the other. So you can have like one line, a line from one person, a line from another person, switch, another line from a person, another line from a person, another line from a person, switch. Then it has a little bit more gravitas, has a little bit more weight to it, rather than just kind of like a Skype call. It feels kind of. So those are my criticisms of the movie. Do I recommend this movie? Absolutely. And it's not because I think that this movie needs money or anything like that. I do think that for a first-time filmmaker, this is a really good. This is really good. Gene Shulman did 2 movies that were fucking awful, and it seems like it got worse as it went along. The second movie was worse than the first one. And I'm hoping that going forward, maybe not even from me, but from other people, I'm pretty sure maybe some other people have watched this movie and given him notes. I think that going forward, if he goes to makes another movie and he pays attention to a lot of the criticism, or maybe even reflects on his movie, I think that he can kind of pick up and do a little bit better his second run. And again, it's not because I think this movie is bad. I don't think it's bad. There's a lot of things in here that I really did not like. But there's a lot of things in a lot of movies that I love that I kind of itch me the wrong way. And yeah, one good example that was itching me the wrong way for a while. There was like a couple scenes in a movie called Freddy Got Fingered, a fantastic cinematic display, right? But there was two scenes that always kind of bugged me, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Even from like Tom Green's humor, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. One scene was when they were standing outside of the house when they were cutting it, and they had a dialogue between the person or whatever, and it was just basically like, hey, if you'd cut this off, like it'd be a lot cheaper to just demolish this and rebuild this wherever you're going rather than ship it all the way out to Pakistan. And he's like, no, I had money and blah, blah, blah. I had this much money and I spent this money in jewels or whatever. And that's all my money gone. It's all my money gone. Easy come, easy go. And that always bothered me. And the other thing that bothered me was in the cheese sandwich factory shop when he just kept dumping on cheese and he was like, I could lose my job. And it always bugged me for the longest time, but I still love the movie. It doesn't bug me anymore because now I understand that those were like meta commentaries on the production of the film. Now he had to do a movie he didn't want to do, pretty much. All right, let me check out chat. I guess the Jones Plantation was written it was directed by Andrew Tergla, written by Larkin and Andrew Tergla, I guess too. Sounds like you were nitpicking a little bit what you were. Yeah, I'm nitpicking. Don't get me wrong, and I'm nitpicking only because I want Larkin to do better movies. And for a first attempt, this is really good. It's really good for a first attempt. Yeah. I am wishing more people get over that. Yeah. Yeah, poor pacing is a huge deal in movies. There's been times where like I really wanted to like a movie, but the movie just dragged on. And there's a movie that I'm got in my queue, and I hear it's the same thing, and it's called Beau is Afraid. And the criticism I got was the pacing. I was just like, oh no, and it kind of makes me not want to watch it. When someone says that a movie's pacing is bad, that's always like, oh, it makes me not want to watch it, especially after because I want Beau to be Beau is Afraid. To be a good movie because I like Ari Aster, even though I didn't like his previous movie that much. I think overall it was good, but there was a couple of problems with it that drove me to not like it. Atlas Shrugged, yeah, but but yeah, I completely forgot about those movies. Yeah, that's how. And those, okay, I'll say this. As as many problems that I had with the Jones Plantation, it was better than Atlas Shrugged. Maybe not the first Atlas Shrugged. I do like the first Atlas Shrugged movie is not bad. It's really not bad. I think the issue with it mostly is that it's it feels like a made for TV movie, and it has the similar kind of pace. And like, there's parts of it where I'm like, you could put an ad break here. Like there's a lot of that stuff. Do I think no, I think I like Jones Plant. Nah, it's a toss up. I would have to think about that one because I think they're kind of on par. I'm not to say that the first Atlas Shrugged movie is great. It's not. It's just not. It's not terrible. Everybody makes that movie out to be absolutely terrible. It's not. The two sequels that came after it, those were bad. Those were really bad. And yeah, I was actually kind of excited. I was like, wait, Jason Begay is going to be in this. This is cool because I know of Jason Begay from Scientology stuff because he used to be a Scientologist and he came out and spoke against it before it was cool. Before Leah Remini did. Yeah, the first one is not terrible. Yeah. Pacing is important. Pacing is important. Thanks, Phobe. I don't know why I'm ignoring. Sorry. I don't know why I'm ignoring Rumble chat. I shouldn't be. Hi, Rumble. This is where I love. This is the platform that I love. I actually like it more than Odyssey now. Pacing is important both in alcohol, both in film and alcohol consumption, which I agree. And you're not going to get a worse paced drinker than me. Speaking of which, I got two, and I'm not sure. Let me double check and make sure that no one's asking me to come into work. No one's asking me to come into work. Cool. So maybe I can drink. That's the main reason why I never drank anything. The last stream is because right when I started, I got a text from my boss like, "Hey, you want to come in tonight?" And I'm like, I'm gonna ignore that and pretend like I just woke up. Don't tell my boss. Okay. So I got two things that I could drink. First one is a Texas bourbon that's been finished in sherry. Does it say which? Oh, PX, Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. This is fantastic. And it clocks in at like 50.8 proof. So it's pretty powerful. And speaking of 50%, the other thing that I got is Brook Latte, which is not pronounced as it's spelled. Brook Latte. Not Brook Latte. It's Brook Latte, the classic latte, which is a scotch from Islay, but it's not peated. It's one of the two distilleries that makes unpeated malts, I guess. Yeah. Maybe we can get into that. Let's do the bourbon. I have gotten really into Texas whiskey, and which is weird because Texas whiskey is kind of seen as like the dregs. It's like, well, Texas. How could you make good whiskey in Texas? It's so goddamn hot. I mean, maybe in the northern panhandle, it gets pretty close to what you would expect weather would be like in like maybe Tennessee, but barely. Texas is way too hot, and the whiskey that comes out of Texas is like at most like 4 years at most. You put it in a barrel any longer than that, it's going to be just like drinking a piece of wood, like wood concentrate. And but if it's done right, and there's a lot of distilleries here that are doing it right, Balcones, Still Austin, what is it, Firestone? I forget who makes this. I just know it as TX. Firestone Robertson. Sorry. Firestone Robertson. They know how to age whiskey in Texas. It's a skill. It's a skill. I haven't tried anything from Crowded Barrel. I want to. Where is it? Ranger Creek does also really good stuff too. Yeah. It's fantastic. It smells amazing. It smells absolutely amazing. So anyways, so yeah, long story short, go see the Jones Plantation. It's a really cheap movie, and they just because I'd watched it in 720p when it came. Or no, I didn't see it in 20. I bought it after I was told that it was finally out in 4K. I was like, okay, fine. I'll twist my arm. I'll go see it. Stefan Kinsella convinced me to. He was like, you don't need it in 4K. It's fine. Go watch it. And I was like, yeah, I'll get around to it, I guess. But usually those kind of recommendations don't really help. Evan Williams Honey, Phobes. My brother in Christ, what are you doing? What are you doing? Flavored whiskey? My brother in Christ. I look, don't tell anyone. Like, I hate Proper 12. I think Proper 12 is a terrible Irish whiskey. but the apple's pretty good. Don't tell anyone though. You can watch it at jonesplantationfilm.com. I remembered that URL just for that. Yeah, I do recommend it. It's not that expensive. Let me double check. I better not put that in. That's really minty, and I'm about to drink whiskey. Jones Plantation Film. jonesplantationfilm.com. How much is it? Get the film. It's going to make me log in. So I already purchased it. Well, you can get the director's commentary for $15, so I imagine it was a lot cheaper than that. Let me log out. Yeah, I do want to log out. Thank you. I'm trying to help you, okay? I'm trying to help you. $10. It's $10 to buy it. And Larkin Rose has been, well, I don't know about Larkin Rose himself. I know that his production crew has been sending out DMCAs on people, and he's trying to justify it. And it's like, you don't need to justify it. You don't need to justify it. You just need to say what really happened and your own views on this thing, which is, I work with a production company. I'm not the only person involved with making the movie. I have a director and I have a co-writer. Apparently, I have a production company that has been hired to help make this. There's people who are getting checks out of this stuff, and there's contracts and stuff. And if they see it somewhere in the wild, they have, they're going to file DMCA's. I can't write a contract to make a movie with these production companies that says, hey, I don't believe in intellectual property, because they're going to be like, well, then there's no money to make in this movie, because that's how they think that everything's got an intellectual property, or it's free and everybody's going to share it and we're not going to make any money. That's their worldview. I can't control it. Sorry. If I had my druthers, it'd be free for everybody, but yeah, but he just wanted to defend it for some reason. I don't get it. I had Makers 46, which, by the way, Makers 46 is great. And the next bottle on my buy list is the cask strength of Makers 46, because I'm just giving up. I'm trying to get allocated stuff for now until I make good friends with my local whiskey supplier. I did get a bottle of Eagle Rare. I had to buy it off a friend or buy it off a coworker. Yeah, been working my ass. Well, dude, I'm so glad that you're able to work and get money, because I know you were having trouble. Thanks to the pandemic, which was helpful. So I saw Atlas Shrugged in theaters, and I saw it with a friend of Matthew Marsden. And I actually hung out with Matthew Marsden. He played James Taggart, the brother of Dagny Taggart. We didn't see that movie together, but I did see it with his friend, who was the guy who was renting out part of his house to me. And we went and saw it opening night. And we kind of came out of this. I was like, yeah, I liked it. It made me kind of interested in reading Ayn Rand, because I'd always kind of viewed Ayn Rand as like a weirdo. And, and he was like, yeah, but this movie is not going to be good. It's not going to do well because it has an agenda, and it has an agenda that, the industry doesn't like, which is the one thing that he pointed out to me. He was like, there was one scene in there that will make this movie like a persona non grata, or filmosa non grata. And that was the scene where the union guy came in and threatened Dagny with taking away the workers, and she stood up to the unions, and there was a big scene, and it was very anti-union scene. And he was like, there is no way, there's no fucking way this movie's gonna make it at all. It's gonna be viewed as like everybody involved with it is gonna be viewed as a pariah, except for maybe the actors, which I have not seen Matthew Marsden in anything since. I have seen the girl that played her. She was in Orange is the New Black. She's like the main character of that show. But I have not seen Matthew Marsden in anything. There was also another thing that happened to Matthew Marsden, which I'm not going to mention, because I don't want anybody to remember what happened with that. Neither does he. Oh, you had the cast strength. I have not had the cast strength. I've only had Makers 46 in its plebeian bottle. That's all I've ever had, and it's good. I had it in the old bottle. They got a new bottle. It sucks. I like their old bottle. That's just magical and waxy, very oily. Better be good with a little bit of water, just like a splash. I think the movie has been doing well. I don't know. Movies are hard. It's hard. It's hard to be successful in film. Most movies don't do well until like much later when they find when DVD sales and like showings on TV and stuff like that kind of help make the money back. And if it's an independent film, it's pretty like a lot of times they're pretty much forgotten. Soon after they hit the market, the people who are interested by it, and that's kind of the end of it. Maybe they'll pick up a couple sales here and there, but that's pretty much it. And a lot of times they go out of print. A lot of times, like really kind of obscure movies don't stay in print very long. Like one of my favorite movies, a cinematic masterpiece, Freddy Got Fingered, has never came out on Blu-ray. Just recently, Garbage Pail Kids came out on Blu-ray, but that was more because it turned into like a cult movie in terms of like people like it because it's so terrible. That's a good question. I can't imagine it being much. I can't imagine. What is the budget? Budget Long Side Night. I'm not seeing a budget. Film Alongside Night. It's not listing a budget. It's an indie movie, so they don't really have to say. I can't imagine there was a lot of yeah. The film makes several changes to the source material. This is from Wikipedia. Sorry, this is the only thing I could find on it. That it's any kind of substantial information, and it's not even substantial. Wikipedia never is really substantial. The film makes several changes to the source material, updated with current references and technology. Yeah, obviously. The location changes from New York City to Las Vegas. That's because it was cheaper to film in Las Vegas because he lived in Pahrump, Nevada. The character Maureen Fisher was changed to a man named Murray Conkin, named for Samuel Edward Conkin, as well as his intellectual progenitor, Murray Rothbard, which, by the way, I do trust Wikipedia when it comes to Neil J. Schulman. J. Neil Schulman. And the reason why is because he wrote it. Yeah, there was... J. Neil Schulman was notorious for editing himself into relevance on Wikipedia. He did that with, he cited himself as like one of the people who came up with agorism, which is easy to do when the main guy died and you were his friend. And so you're like, yeah, I remember there are all those pictures of him with me. That's because we were friends, and yeah, I helped write it. He was definitely doing a Tommy Tallarico towards the end of his life. It was kind of sad. No, I think it actually is, and I know it's in IMDb now that I think about it. I wonder if there's a link to the IMDb on here. Yeah, here it is. Alongside Night. It's probably not going to show me the budget. I'm not seeing anything. Production, box office. Let's see. Oh, I have to have Pro. I don't see anything in terms of budget. I'm sorry. We're probably not going to ever know. There is a way to knowing. The guy who funded the entire production of the film was in the movie. He was the guy who looked at the camera. He was one of the guys who looked at the camera. Look, and I'm glad Larkin didn't have this problem with this movie. This is not that I saw. If one of your actors in your film looks at the camera, say cut, do another take. Don't fucking go with it, or at least crop them out or something. But if you, during the scene in the mall where he goes up to a coin shop, and the proprietors of the coin shop, it was like a lady and a guy. The guy is the guy who produced it, the guy that looked at the camera. He's the one that funded the movie, I guess he's the executive producer, right? when they go up to the coin counter and they say like, "Oh, you're the son of Vreeland. I'm so sorry about your father." Tuvok and Kim were alongside. Yeah. He had to get as many like Star Trek. He always tries to put Star Trek references in his movie. In fact, the biggest one was his film before then, which was Lady Magdalene, which maybe we should do a watch along. We should do a watch along one of these streams. We just do a watch along of, because that's the more obscure. Like I know Libertarian Podcast Review did a watch along with Alongside Night, and he did not watch it with the captions turned on. Big mistake. If you ever watch Alongside Night, put on closed captioning. Do it. It's worth it. Because there's lots of little things in this movie that don't make a whole lot of sense. Like, why is there a dog barking? What is that weird noise coming from? A lot of times it's like, it's things that you would never like expect, or like it would make sense, but it only makes sense when you turn closed captioning on. Because for like the dog barking, it was their home alarm system that would play the sound of a dog barking to keep intruders away. And it said that on the bottom. It was like electronic alarm system mocking a dog bark, or holographic 3D holographic tattoo says "Don't tread on me." It's like I can't even. It said something like there's. You have to watch it with the closed captioning on. You have to, because it's fire. And I forget who told me to do that. Maybe it was you, Andrew, but someone told me to do that. It was amazing. Made my movie going experience with that movie so much better once I turned closed captioning on. And I wish I would have caught it. I wish someone would have told me that when I did my review of it. Yeah. So maybe if you asked him like, "Hey, how much did you pay for that movie? How much did you pay for your ad spot?" Maybe you can get it out of him. Probably not. He probably won't do it. He probably won't do it. In terms of like I think the movie was better animated, since they have the audio tracks for everything. If you could just take that audio track, just take it out, hire another animation company to do it, now that technology is cheap enough to do it well now. I think Silver Circle could be a good movie. Probably better than all of them, including Atlas Shrugged, including Jones Plantation. If they just took the audio track out and reanimated it, I think it'd be better. Because if you look at it, it looks like. Have you ever seen Second Life back in 2007? It looks worse than that. But it's like it feels like I'm watching a movie in Second Life. It's and not even the good part of Second Life, when they started getting like mesh and sculpties. Like no, prims. Everything was made out of prims. That's what it looked like. It was terrible. It looked awful, but everything else was bad. It was great. Maybe they should do that. They won't, but they should do that. But they won't. All right, so maybe we should get into Die Hard, which is not a Christmas movie, and that is a hill I'm willing to die on, and it is a hill that I die on every year. Every year I go through this, and I go through the same motions, and I make the same arguments, and people have the same bad arguments every single time. People have some more compelling ones too, but I always get almost every year I get the line, "Well, then Home Alone's not a Christmas movie because that was just a bunch of robbers trying to hurt a kid." And it's like, no, go watch it again. I think most people like look at Home Alone as like that. What is it, like 20 minutes? There's only like 20 minutes of the actual like robbers trying to break into the house, and he's setting off booby traps. That was only like 20 minutes in the movie. The rest of the movie had a really engaging storyline, and it's very moving. It's a very well done movie, but everyone always remember that. That's all they remember is that 20 minutes, because they watched it as a kid and they never seen it again. So the story of Home Alone is a kid wishes for his family to go away for Christmas. He doesn't like his family anymore. They're all kind of jerks to him. It doesn't help that he's kind of a brat. And them being a jerk to him is a response to him being a brat. He wished for his family to go away. He gets his wish. He enjoys his wish, Then he quickly realizes that like his family provides more than just, that, it provides him with love and it provides him with security and safety and all this other stuff. And he has to grow up real quick and he doesn't like any of it. And once he realizes that he's completely vulnerable to being harmed by two adults, two evil men, that he wishes for his family to come back. So he gets a miracle. His family goes away. His Christmas wish is what he goes up to a Santa and he goes like, I know you're not a real Santa, but he goes up to Santa and he's like, you're good with him, right? He's like, I know you're not Santa, but you work for him. So can you please tell Santa that what I really want for Christmas is my family back? And by Christmas miracle, against all odds, the whole family, even much to the dismay of the mother, or not dismay, to the surprise of the mother, rather, all the family comes back. Like it has everything. It's a movie that can't work at any other time. Like it's completely dependent on Christmas. You can't divorce it from any other thing. And there is a Christmas miracle, a Christmas witch, and there is and the main character or a main character has a moment where he becomes a believer in the magic or the spirit of Christmas. I think that's a good qualification to what qualifies as a Christmas movie, because if we're going to say that every movie is a Christmas movie that even like has a Christmas moment, then like Deadpool is a Christmas movie because there's a scene in it where it takes place on Christmas. A very important part happens during Christmas. Or if we're going to spread it, okay, well, maybe it has to be a little bit more than just one scene. Okay, then Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, even though it has really nothing to do with Christmas other than that's the setting. We can also say that Eyes Wide Shut is a Christmas movie because it takes place during Christmas. It's not really that important. It could take place on any other type of the year, but the setting was that. So why is Die Hard considered a Christmas movie? Well, because it takes place on Christmas and it has Christmas music in it. Well, it's like there's nothing really there in terms of like it needs to be during Christmas. And in fact, the company that made them, was it Warner Brothers? I don't know. One major studio, whatever major studio it was, decided that it wasn't really appropriate to release it during Christmas because it's not a Christmas movie. And so they released it in July because they knew it was going to be a summer blockbuster, right? And it was a good movie. It's a great movie, but it's not a Christmas movie. Gremlins, I don't believe it is. I need to go back and watch it again because last time I watched it, it was just like, I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. And I was just trying to catch up on some of my forgotten movies. I don't believe that it is. I have to double check. But it's been a while. I need to watch it from that kind of lens. So, basically, I think a Christmas movie has to take place during like here's the criteria, right? And it's a loose criteria because there's no other thing as like a hard criteria when we're talking about something as subjective as like art. Or even like race or something, right? You can say like, well, a black person as someone who has like really dark or has high melanin content in their skin. And it's like, well, okay, are black people with albinism considered that? No. Okay. So maybe we can let one or two of them go. But the movie has to be released within the Christmas season, which is somewhere between like September to, early July, early January, like very early January. But I don't think any Christmas movie has been released after Christmas. It's usually Christmas Day or later. And I don't even think anyone's Christmas Day or later. It usually comes out in like at worst late September, usually October. So it has to be released somewhere in that. But there's one example that people always pull out, and that's Miracle on 34th Street or 43rd Street or whatever it was. And that came out in like May, but this was in the 1940s, and they were still kind of like marketing hadn't been really kind of picked out right for those times. And they figured like, hey, people are going to want to get out of the heat and go into an air conditioned movie. Cause that was the big thing back then is people wanted to escape the heat. So they would go to a movie theater cause it was free air conditioning for like a good 2 hours while you watched a movie. And they figured that, hey, we released this Christmas movie, but a lot of people were kind of weirded out by that. And so they never did it again. They never really did that again. So aside for that one example, I think that's a good criteria, right? And they stated it such. It didn't work out, and they never tried it again. It has to be released during the Christmas time. 2, the Christmas has to be something that cannot be divorced from the movie. Otherwise, it's a completely different movie. So take, for example, Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. If you were to switch that little thing to be, oh, instead of going to a Christmas dinner, they're going to Thanksgiving dinner, right? And have the same movie, right? Same period and everything. You can be like, oh yeah, okay, that'll work. That's hard to qualify as a Christmas movie. And I know a lot of people are probably like, how dare you? But Plane, Trains, and Automobiles is not a Christmas movie. And a lot of people think that it is a Christmas movie, but it's not. It's a Thanksgiving movie. Go watch it again. They're going to Thanksgiving dinner. That was a trick. You fell for my trap. I always love doing that. I always like say like Plane, Trains, and Automobiles is not a Christmas movie. And people get mad. Like, here you are again with your nonsense. It's like, it's a Thanksgiving movie. But I don't even think I would I think Christmas has like a very specific, Christmas films have a very specific thing since there's so many of them. There's not a lot of good standards for Thanksgiving movies. And the few Thanksgiving movies there are kind of like spotty. It's like there was Alice's House or something like that. You have the one with Al Bundy. Its name is escaping me. The one with Al Bundy and the kid, and they go across country and they buy fireworks at one point. It's a good movie. Mitch or something like that, something like that. It was a good movie. Kind of forgettable, but good. And then you had Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. That's the only ones I can really think of. There was one, Canadian legend John Kent. You and your Canadian pride. By the way, who won the Stanley Cup last year? Or this year? Who won that? Can't remember who it was. Yeah, the name of the team is escaping me. I don't know what team won the Stanley Cup this year. Anyways, moving along. But no, so like you can't really divorce it. So I think Die Hard, you can completely divorce that movie from it. If you just take out the Christmas songs and you take out and you just replace the event that he was going to, make it a Thanksgiving. You can make it a Thanksgiving movie because they don't work on Thanksgiving. It's a national holiday. You can take it out. You can make it 4th of July. You can make it a 4th of July party. Have, jokes about whatever. But the central plot of the movie still works. Completely still works. It's a heist movie. It's a group of people who are pretending to be terrorists who are actually involved in a heist, who have been interrupted by a cop who is trying to rekindle his family from another place, and he's a good cop. And there's no story arc where like a main character or any. We'll get into that. So you can completely replace that, replace a few jokes, change the soundtrack. You have a completely different movie, and it would work, and it'd be just as good. I'm sorry, it would be just as good. Yeah, we are. I mean, we made it to the playoffs our first season, dude. How did the Canucks do their first season? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? It's probably like trillions of years ago when hockey was first invented. They were like, we're going to make the Canucks and the Maple Leafs. And the Whalers. No, the Whalers of Hartford. Never mind. Sorry. So I think another criteria that needs to be is there needs to be a main character who has an arc that involves them changing their mind about Christmas. Right? In some way, or accepts the magic or the spirit of Christmas. For example, Bad Santa, which a lot of people kind of don't even think is like a Christmas movie, but it completely fits this criteria perfectly. He's a bad person, and through the course of the movie, he learns to be a better person because of the Christmas spirit. Because the kid wanted a stuffed gorilla or a stuffed. He originally wanted a stuffed gorilla, then he wanted a stuffed elephant. And while they were on their last heist, he wanted to make sure that he got this kid the elephant. And even as he got shot and was crawling towards the house, he was like, the kid's getting his fucking toy. He definitely changed. There's definitely that magic arc. And this is one that's usually important, but it's optional. But it usually defines a good Christmas, a really good Christmas movie. Is that there's some sort of like Christmas spirit or not Christmas spirit, Christmas magic or Christmas miracle of sorts. For instance, Bad Santa, he survives getting shot by the police and everything works out for him and the kid. Home Alone, He gets his family. He gets rid of his family. That was his first Christmas miracle. His second Christmas miracle was getting not just his mother back, who went through hell in a handbasket, to go across country to go get him, or excuse me, across the world. They're in Paris. That's right. Were they in? Yeah, I think the first one they went to Paris, or they were going to Paris. That's right. Got back and everything was fine. Or she finally got there through hell and Hera. Then like the rest of the family came, and it was a Christmas miracle. If you want to make the case that a terrorist falling to his death from Nagasaki, whatever tower, is a miracle, then you really need to evaluate your life. If you think someone falling to their death, no matter how bad they are, someone falling to their death is a Christmas miracle, you really need to like rethink your life. That is the most like ludicrous thing I've ever heard when I said like there's no Christmas miracle, like just offhand comment. Oh, the Christmas miracle was that he fell off the. It's like, no, that's not a miracle. The miracle should be, if this was a true Christmas movie, the miracle should be that he, like, instead of falling to his death, he realized what he was doing through the power of this Christmas spirit and changed his life, and then helped him fight the terrorists that he brought in. That would have been a Christmas miracle. That was not a Christmas miracle. There was no arc, right? There was definitely no arc in that as well. John Kimball, is that his name? John Kimball, whatever. He was a badass cop. Before the movie started, he was a badass cop. And he just happened to be at the right place at the right time to show how badass he was. There was no arc. He didn't, like, he was going to do it anyway, but he had a really good motivation to do it, which was like to protect his family. But given in that circumstance, he probably would have done the same thing, because he's like, he's like a good cop, right? Good cop. In the movie, he's a good cop, right? There was none of that stuff, right? This was just like this. You could have completely divorced all that other stuff, because all that stuff was just aesthetics. And that's great. Like, it's a good movie to watch during the holiday season, because it does have that kind of, it has the music, it has the scenery. And does it, I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. But like you can completely divorce that stuff from the movie and take it out. I would say it's a holiday movie. it's a Christmas themed movie, but I would not go as far as just call it a Christmas movie. Now, if you want to make the case that movies like Eyes Wide Shut and Batman Returns and Loaded Weapon, or Lethal Weapon, excuse me, are Christmas movies, okay. I don't see that as particularly helpful for anything. I don't see how, like, I don't think anybody really watches, well, they watch Die Hard. I don't think anybody like gets into the holiday spirit by watching Batman Returns. But I do know that people watch a lot of other movies that are not Christmas movies. Then this one's going to, maybe I should save this one for later. I should save this for later on during the month. But like, It's a Wonderful Life. Here's another take I'll do. John McClane. Sorry, there you go. I'll take another shot. Who was John Kimball? Just fucking Arnold. I'm Detective John Kimball. Listen to me. Yeah. I forgot. It says Kindergarten Cop, right? John Kimball. I could be getting this wrong. I'm bad with names. Sorry. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Deranged Syndrome. Yes, I do. It's a Wonderful Life is also not a Christmas movie, but we'll open that can of worms at another time. Here's another take that I'll make. I do not like A Christmas Story. I'll even wear I have like a little lapel pin, and I wear them at work, and like I always change them out every day. And people always go like, "Oh, you're wearing a different lapel pin today." I'm like, "Yeah, I wear a different one every day." And I have the little lapel pin of the little leg lamp. And every time I see the leg lamp, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I should get a leg lamp. I got my parents a leg lamp, Christmas ornament one year. I like the I like like I like the except for one big thing. I like the whole like ambiance or the community or whatever of the Christmas movie or Christmas story, excuse me. But I can't stand watching the fucking movie anymore because I have seen it like a million times. It was a good movie when I first saw it. It was a great movie when I saw it again. It was a great movie when I saw it again. It was a great movie when I saw it again. And that was just the first year. Right? Because TV stations, I don't know if they still do this, but they probably do. It had been like a tradition that like one of the TV stations, and you only got like what, 6 in the 80s? One of the TV stations would play it 24 hours a day, or they would play it every night, all month, one or the other. And then when cable came on, like 5 stations would play it 24/7 for the entire month. And it was on all the time, and everybody wanted to watch it over and over and over again. I can't fucking stand looking at that movie. I hate everything visually about that movie. And every time I see it on, I just cringe. And it didn't have to be that way. It's a good movie. Calm the fuck down. It's not that good that you would need to play it like a million trillion times, right? I can get It's a Wonderful Life. Like, oh, that movie is a legitimate masterpiece. Christmas Story is just a good movie, right? It's just a good movie. That's all it is. Oh, I lost all of its powder. Where'd my thing go? There. It's a good movie. It's not great, right? It's not A Wonderful Life, which is also not a Christmas movie. It's not a great movie. It's a Wonderful Life is a great movie. That's one you can play over and over again. My favorite Christmas movie, I'd probably get tired of it too, because it's not that kind of masterpiece, right? Which is Bad Santa. Arthur Christmas, that's another movie that I think is fantastic. It's completely underrated in terms of Christmas movies. It's fantastic. Could I stand watching it twice in a row? Nah. Could I stand watching it more than once in a Christmas season? Nah. Same for Bad Santa. Christmas Vacation. Actually, Christmas Vacation is one of those ones where I could probably watch it multiple times in a Christmas season because that movie is just great. But still, if you kept playing it as much as A Christmas Story, I'd probably get just as sick of it. I'm so sick of that movie. I'm tired of everything about that fucking movie, except for like the little things outside of the movie. Like anytime I go, there is a bar in the town that I just moved to, New Braunfels, called the Phoenix Bar, which is actually a place where they invented and manufactured the first chili powder. Inside that bar all year, because I went there way out of the Christmas season the first time, and they had the leg lamp. They actually had like a replica leg lamp. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I have a little leg lamp lapel pin that I wear, the Christmas season. But yeah, like fucking goddamn it. What are you pretty sure is correct, Phobes? The frozen tongue didn't really bother me, but like I took that as a serious lesson. Like, don't lick frozen things. Like, don't lick frozen things that are not like popsicles or something that you're supposed to. Yeah, I can't stand that movie. I really can't stand looking at that movie anymore. Everything else around it, it's fine. And not only that, but they've been coming out with like sequels and plays and like musicals. They're like nightmarishly bad. All of them are nightmarishly bad. Like, I could understand if you're going to redo the movie with modern day or something like that. Maybe I can get into that if it's good. But the stuff that's come out has been bad. The musical was awful. The sequel was fucking. I should classify that as a hate crime and make it illegal. I'm just kidding. But if that was a first classified hate crime, I'd be like, well, maybe this legislation ain't that bad. No, but seriously, it was really bad. I think they did something. I think they did a stage play or something like that. I heard that was bad. Leave it alone. Leave it the fuck alone. Stop fucking with it. You're not, unless you're going to do something really good with it, don't fuck with it. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, let's do it. Let's fucking kill my subscriber count. It's a Wonderful Life. It's not a Christmas movie. It barely takes place during Christmas. It only has like a Christmas in a couple parts of the movie, and it's only during the last bit of it. He doesn't have any kind of revelation about the Christmas season. He just has a revelation about how good it is to be alive and how terrible it would be if he died and never existed, which is a great moral story. It's a great movie. It's probably Jimmy Stewart's best movie, but it's not a Christmas movie. And just because like Christmas happens, I guess it's somewhat a religious movie, right? Because it has angels and it talks about death and shows them alternative worlds, and angel gets its wing at the very end. But like it's like nothing really to do with Christmas in terms of the plot, other than like a couple of key scenes, and that's it. Like that's it. And then a bell on a Christmas tree rings, and a kid goes, "Oh look! Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings." It's like, "Oh, I see you got it there." And that's about it. That's about it in terms of Christmas. That's it. That's a fantastic movie, and I won't hesitate to take the opportunity of people exploiting it as a Christmas movie to watch it again, because it's such a great movie. It's one of the very few movies of that kind of era that I legitimately love. But it's not a Christmas movie. It's really fucking not. Yeah, like that's the only thing I heard was just like, oh yeah. But I mean, like, I would say that Die Hard is probably more of a Christmas movie than, than It's a Wonderful Life. The Deckard Cain voice is very confusing. Yeah, it's like at least the theme of Christmas is going through the entire movie of Die Hard. That's not the case with. It's not the case with. You're getting like stories when he was younger and stuff. Then like him like going around during like not even at Christmas time and just like talking to random people, and people are on worse positions, and he's like, well, why are they not doing so well? I don't understand. By the way, I think Jimmy Stewart's voice is pretty much the same as Audrey Hepburn. Now that I think about it. Anyways, but yeah, it's like I don't know. It's a great movie, but it's not a Christmas movie. It's great that people want to watch it during the Christmas time, and it's on every station over and over again. Like it gives me an opportunity to walk. Oh yeah, maybe I should sit down and watch this again. Other than that, it's like it's not a Christmas movie. It's just fucking not. But anyways, we're gonna wrap this up, and I'm glad Tally never came by to buy me a shot of Malort, which I do have. I do have the very infamous barrel-aged Malort. And I do have the not as bad, but still fucking terrible Jepson's Malort, which only Godzilla could ever truly enjoy. Everybody just pretends they enjoy it. It's fucking awful. So, in terms of what's been going on with me, I plan on doing a whole lot more of these things. Still planning on relaunching my channel. I'm actually trying to buy furniture to help me in the aid of producing more movies for A Whiskey Enjoyer, which you can go subscribe to at just look on YouTube for A Whiskey Enjoyer. I'm also going to put it on Rumble. I'm going to create a Rumble account when times come, but I will announce it here when that actually gets off the ground. When I premiere it, I'll announce it on these channels. And yeah, I guess I'll wrap it up. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It's a Wonderful Life is not a Christmas movie. Lethal Weapon is not a Christmas. I keep saying Loaded Weapon. What was Loaded Weapon? Is that like the Loaded? Is Loaded Weapon a movie? I need to know this now. Oh, it is. Oh, it was That's right. It was a National Lampoon satire of Lethal Weapon. There we go. That's also not a Christmas movie, but Lethal Weapon is not a Christmas movie. Batman Returns is not a Christmas movie. Sorry, it's not. There needs to be some sort of standard for Christmas movies. Since there's so many of them, there needs to be like a standard. And usually the good ones, the really good ones that really fall into a Christmas movie has a set of standards, right? Those are the ones that people watch over and over again during the holidays, except for It's a Wonderful Life, which I don't understand. I don't understand why that gets lumped in, other than it has a couple of scenes that takes place during Christmas. Gremlins, I think might, but I don't think there's anything that really happens in terms of like a Christmas miracle or like a story arc of a character who learns the magic or spirit of Christmas. There's none of that stuff, but it is kind of hard to divorce it from Christmas. Other than, I guess you can make it a birthday present. You can make the gremlin a birthday present, and that would work. Maybe I'd have to go back and watch it again. I could be completely wrong about that because it's been a while since whatever. Yeah, it was a parody. It was a parody. Loaded Weapon was a parody of Lethal Weapon, or satire. No, it's not satire. It'd be, yeah, you're right. It'd be parody. Yeah, thank you. Just happens to take place during Christmas, but it's not a Christmas movie. There needs to be some sort of like a codified set of standards of what a Christmas movie is that would divorce movies like Batman Returns and Eyes Wide Shut and Loaded Weapon and A Kiss Goodnight. I think that was another one that's considered a Christmas movie, or Deadpool. That would separate those ones, but still allow ones that we would consider to be good Christmas movies, or even bad Christmas movies, like the Santa Claus, like Bad Santa, like Arthur Christmas, like Christmas Vacation. Oh, Christmas Vacation. It'd be hard to do a Christmas Vacation. It would be really hard because there's so many things happening in terms of Christmas that you really wouldn't work with Christmas Vacation, or that really wouldn't work without Christmas. Yeah, I don't think anybody's got a Thanksgiving bonus. That would not work. Because that's a central plot of the movie. Yeah, I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work. It would be tough. And I'm not no, there was plenty of arcs where people got into the spirit of Christmas that didn't. The family or the younger kids didn't. So yeah, that's definitely a Christmas movie now that I kind of dissected it a bit. But that's what I need to dissect these things as I go along. Yeah. I think there needs to be an objective list. And I think that's it. I think the standard should be that has to be released around Christmas time, with the one lone exception of A Miracle on 34th Street, which was an experiment that didn't go well, and they never did it again after that. 70 years later, that's never happened again. The film has to be kind of taking place during the time of Christmas, or at least make a trip around the year. I think that's fair. To start the movie, start at Christmas, have a humbug moment. Throughout the year, they learn they were completely wrong about Christmas, and then have a revelation at the end where it's Christmas again. And it has to be about Christmas. There has to be some sort of Christmas miracle, or there has to be some sort of Christmas miracle, or some sort of thing that happens because of Christmas, right? That inspired someone to do something good. And there has to be a character arc with one of the characters in the movie have a realization through the spirit or magic of Christmas that Christmas is good, that they weren't at the very beginning, right? I think that's a fair criteria of what it should be. Has to meet those requirements. Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments below. I will see you guys later. I'm going to run the end credits again because I think I forgot last time. Go see the Jones Plantation for all my criticisms of it. Fairly good movie. Really good movie for a first attempt. It probably would have been better than my first attempt. And until next time, worms.